Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I hope everything's okay in your life. In this video you will find an updated version of series I prepared in the previous years. You're in luck for listening to the explanation because I felt the need to quickly discuss the content of the video. Each video will feature an interview with a class master about either the Succession or Awakening versions of a class. All videos, including the older ones, will be available in the playlist you see on the screen. You can find the link of the playlist in the pinned comment section. The purpose of this video series is to help you understand the basic role of the class within the game. I must clarify that it is not a deeply detailed guide. You will watch an interview in a conversational style aimed at answering the fundamental questions of those interested in playing a class. The class masters featured are experienced players who have dedicated thousands of hours to their class and to the Black Desert Online. You may recognize some and not the others, but unfamiliarity does not make them bad players. All the class masters mentioned have proven themselves in Black Desert Online world. Please be respectful when sharing your thoughts. Enjoy watching. Hello guys, welcome. Today's guest is Zeroden for Awakening Warrior. How are you, Zeroden?
I'm doing good, thanks.
May you please introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? Which server are you playing at?
I'm a warrior main and a BDO partner. I'm the GM of the Kinsworn Hunters, and I play on North America servers. You know me as Zeroden or Zeroden Hunter. You can find me on Twitch or YouTube or even on Discord, on the official PA Discord.
Thank you. How did you find out of BDO and what got your interest to stay in BDO?
My wife, Chrysidra, told me about the game back when we were just leaving Terra to go play World of Warcraft. It was still a year away from my North America release, but when the game beta came out, she wanted me to play it with her, and I did. I've been playing since closed beta test 1. What keeps me interested in the game is its action combat system.
Whenever I ask all other class masters, all other experienced players, for this question, answer is almost same. Combat system.
That doesn't surprise me. I think BDO has a very unique, I haven't seen replicated in another MMO. The closest MMO that came to it was Terra, and despite there being desync in BDO, BDO's combat system is still one of the most fluid and fun to play. It's high action, the animations are beautiful, the abilities are really interesting to see, and they do unique things and they just try new stuff.
Have you ever taken a break from playing BDO? If so, what motivated you to come back?
I took a break between 2018 and 2019 for about a year. I left because my guild wanted to explore other games at the time, and I returned because I never really wanted to leave myself. And once we were done exploring those games, I came back to this one, and then my guild followed me shortly afterward.
Thank you. How long have you been playing the class you're currently playing? Have you tried any other classes?
I've been playing Warrior since closed beta test 1 with the intention of playing Awakened Warrior since it was released. I exclusively play Awakened Warrior. I'm not the type of person who enjoys playing multiple classes. Once I find a class I like, I will play that class until I can no longer find joy in it. I did at one point play a Succession Musa for the Creator Fiesta, and that's the only time I've ever actually played another class.
I get it. So what sets the class you play apart from the other class? What is special and most important thing in Warrior for you?
I'm going to be completely honest here. Not a whole lot these days. Awakened Warrior is very flashy, but it's not particularly the best at anything. However, if you love wielding a greatsword and swinging it around like a madman, there is no other option.
Okay. Is your class evasion or damage reduction or both playable, and why?
Warrior benefits most from damage reduction. The class requires a lot of AP to keep up with some of the newer classes and has passives that play well into DR. You can run evasion, but without the additional evasion modifiers, it's not that effective.
Thank you. What is your current gear score? Do you rush your gear progress, or you're like some type of take it easy guy?
I have two primary builds. One is 760 gear score. The other is 734 gear score. I don't particularly rush for progression. I rarely grind and make most of my money life skilling. I find that the more you rush towards gear, the more brutally the game seems to punish you. It makes your efforts seem less impactful, so I prefer to be patient.
Yeah, definitely Perleb's doing that consistently. We saw the hammer thing.
We had about a year ago, right? No one even foresaw the Jace hammer, right? Imagine you were breaking your back trying to get a Deboreka necklace, and now all of a sudden they introduce Jace hammers. The game definitely rewards you for being patient.
Exactly. Is your class newbie friendly? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate its difficulty? You can separate it as Suck and Awakening.
I would say Awakened Warrior is not that new player friendly. It has a tremendous amount of protection gaps, especially during movement. Protected movement and attacks are very forgiving for errors, and there are many newer classes that offer that over the Warrior. Aside from flashy animations and the coolness factor, performance-wise, Warrior is pretty lackluster.
I want to add an extra question. Before, we were used to play Warrior and other classes, especially old classes, over 200, 300 FPS. I mean, it's still there, or did they actually fix that thing?
It's still there. I know that later on you're going to ask a similar or a question about some things that I would address, and I definitely have an answer for that in there.
Okay. I think we talk about in general, the basic things on an Awakening Warrior. Let's dive in. We are curious about your thoughts on the PvE situation of Awakening Warrior. Could you provide us with a detail for early, mid, and end game?
So full disclosure, it's been a while since I've been early and mid game as a warrior. However, from just playing seasonals and because I play seasonal warrior and just my main warrior, warrior's pretty consistent performance throughout its growth. Even at 315 AP plus at end game spots like Tungrad Ruins or the Highlands, you'll feel like you're underperforming compared to classes with equal or even less gear, and often even less effort due to the high APM of the Awakened variant. Succession tends to do a bit better. It has lower APM, but it is still outperformed by so many classes.
I think the most beautiful part on an Awakening Warrior comes from the aggro skill for mid-game spots, especially like Sakraya, Starzan type of spots. I think that aggro skill, the pull skill, is helping for that stage, especially is making Warrior special. But in end game, yeah, whenever I just watch your whenever I see your damage in your stream, whenever I see Biceptimus damage or some other warrior's damage, when I think your gear score, it feels, too bad. It's not above average, it's bad. Hopefully they can find a solution for that.
I agree. No, I agree. It is the modifiers are really bad compared to classes like a Dracania or a Wusa or a Megu. You watch if I had the same gear on a Wusa and I grinded the same spots, it would be night and day. I'd be pulling far, far more trash. It's just not that efficient in PvE. And I don't play Warrior because of its efficiency. I just play it because I love the playstyle.
Let's talk about PvP, because Warrior, mostly playing Warrior for PvP. We are curious about your thoughts on Warrior Awakening in PvP. May you please make us some kind of summary separately for 1v1, 1vx, AOS, 5v5, Guild League, Node, Siege, War of the Roses.
For 1v1s, Awakened Warrior is a ton of fun. It's a very technical class that can feel like playing very rapid chess. There's a lot of moves and counter moves. If you're a predictive player, it's fast-paced and an exciting playstyle. In 1vx, warrior begins to drop off. They're very unprotected, and it becomes difficult to protect yourself while dealing damage. You'll find yourself being CC'd often, sometimes by things you can't even see coming. In AOS, warrior is a decent performer. It has its place in group fights and is a fairly decent CC delivery class. Besides that, it does moderate damage and has moderate survivability. As the fight scales upwards, such as like 5v5, Guild League, Node War, etc., Awakened Warrior begins to drop off rapidly, and it drops off hard. You are typically very unprotected during movement, and most of your protection is in frontal guard. In a large-scale fight, where you're fighting many AoE classes with AoE CCs being delivered at range, this proposes a huge problem for an unprotected melee damage dealer.
I want to add something. This might be a little bit toxic for warrior players, but most of the time, big guilds, they pretend like you're griefing the guilds in Node Siege and some other things, and they may want from you to tag something different, like more beneficial. So you have to prepare yourself if you want to play Awakening Warrior.
Essentially, a lot of guilds, unless you're playing like flex team, it's true, you honestly aren't serving your guild by playing in the ball. You might be able to help on a warrior if you're on a cannon team or running flex or doing specific objectives that aren't related to fighting with the ball. The moment you get into a ball fight, you're going to just fall flat. You're not going to feel like you're doing a whole lot. Your best bet is to kind of poke outside the ball or be a flanker.
Exactly. And
there are other and better classes better suited for those roles too. So it's not the most effective flanker.
Exactly. As you said in before, you're being able to do many things in the game, but it's none of them best. It feels very bad. Is there a significant strong aspect of the class you're playing, or significant weakness? What is your strongest thing? What is the weakest thing for you?
This question makes me a little bit sad, because I used to feel like Warrior was very strong in certain aspects of the game. Right now, I don't feel like Awakened Warrior has any particularly strong aspect to it that other classes do not offer better or with more variety. We have the weakest shield of all the shielders. We are more complicated to deliver damage with many required animation cancels and ability spams. We don't offer much in terms of group utility, and we're very unprotected during movement and CC bearing attacks. Valks and Draconias offer a better overall experience for a similar combat role and require half the effort. With more protected movement and attacks, they do more damage at lower AP thresholds and provide more group utility.
I mean, not gonna lie, I'm a main Dracania, and I'm still looking for a little bit more, some touch for like a nerf touch on Awakened Dracania, so people can a little bit take a breath. I mean, it's still just can easily pressure on your opponents, and hopefully they can do that. For me, for Awakening Warrior, what I can say, strong aspect in Warrior, not like I'm not comparing with the other classes. In Warrior, I can say that maybe 1v1 is the strongest part of the class. But weakest part,
it is the strongest part of the class, but so 1v1 is the strongest part of the class, but there are so many other classes that are more effective at 1v1 than Warrior.
Exactly.
And I think I do talk a little bit about them coming up here.
For weakest part, what I can say, like it requires lots of experience and FPS dependent class. That's the weakest part, I think.
Yeah, those are factors, but for me, I feel like it's the lack of protected movement. I don't want more protections in my movement. I just want other classes to be similarly unprotected, because I feel like that introduces an element of skill play.
But I don't think PA can do that. It's because, whenever you check the old and new classes, the PA non-stop giving protection for no reason, because they want the game is even more and more and more easy. Like they don't want to see game is like this, because they want someone newbie or returnee, they can directly adapt the game, used to the game. They want to see that so they can milk them. That's what I understand for the last 2-3 years.
It does feel that way. There are some classes that have almost non-stop protections. Whenever I watch a clip of a Dracania doing something really cool, especially on like a channel like Pystanity, you can look at the defense icons and there's constant super armor or iframe, and I'm always blown away, because I know that no matter what I do, I can't have that same experience.
Exactly. I mean, as a veteran player, maybe you want same, I want same, the old veterans want same. Nerf is also a way to balance the game. We can all say that, but they're not nerfing it. But also, they're not buffing the old classes too, and it's just making like some of the classes feels dead compared to the other ones, and the other ones feels like the true power. I don't know how they will be able to solve it. We will see.
They did recommend what we just discussed before. They said that they might, one of the options they offered was peeling back some of the excessive protections and introducing frontal guards instead of super armors,
Yeah.
which I think would be amazing for the game because then you're not omnidirectional protected.
But it is bad for newbies and returnees or like a casual player. You know, they are ready to cry on everything in the game. PA wants to keep newbies always in the game. I don't know. We will see. Because they still didn't bring that system. I'm waiting for my PvP tier list. It's been like maybe 6 months they announced that system. We're still waiting for that. I don't think it should be that much hard to decide all the things. Maybe they just sleeping on it. I don't know.
I don't think they know how to balance it correctly.
Yeah.
Because the fact they can make one or two terminal mistakes that will make the entire effort invalidated.
Yeah, they might create a chaos. So,
True.
are there any classes that clearly dominate your class? Or are there any other classes that you can clearly dominate them? The counter matchups.
Awakened Striker, Succession Mystic, Awakened Ranger, Suck Tamer are all strong counters to the Awakened Warrior kit due to highly protected movement, constant super armor, frontal guard penetrative, CC bearing attacks, vacuum mechanics, multiple grabs, knockdowns on successful grapples or iframe into grapples with very low reaction time to punish a missed grapple. The classes that we are going to excel against are going to be casters like witches and wizards, where we can close the gap, grapple them, and they have to stand still for the most part to deal damage. Because of that, we can then absolutely punish them through grappling.
Is there a mechanics or skills in your class that you would like to be buffed or nerfed?
I'd like to see the shield health of the Awakened Warrior increase to match the other classes. To be perfectly honest, rather than asking for Warrior to be buff, I'd like to ask for other classes to be nerfed to perform similarly to the Warrior. I feel like constant super armor and iframe, multi-grapple, knockdown, and unpunishable misanimations are very bad for the game, especially when the game is as desyncy as it is.
I get it, and I agree. Nerf is the way of the balance the game. Can we get a brief summary of the good and bad things in your class? Because we talk a lot about Awakening Warrior. What Awakening Warrior can offer me if I just start with Awakening Warrior?
Number 1, great sword. It looks cool. Number 2, we have the best male outfits in the game. Remarks complete. As for the bad things, unprotected movement in CC, low damage modifiers compared to other classes, and it requires a ton of accuracy and heavy combo work to overcome evasion builds.
So let's talk about BDO itself. What are your thoughts on BDO's current situation from past until now? What is good, what is bad for you?
I'm usually a very optimistic person, but I don't really like the direction of the game's design in the past year. Messaging from PA has been confusing and seems to frequently ignore player feedback about the largest issues that impact the game. Changes to World PvP have left the game feeling a bit boring and stale. Canned PvP frequently has gimmicks that affect the way your character feels, such as the DR mechanics in RBF, or equalized gear in AOS at low gear thresholds, or caps on node wars. BDO's World PvP scene is not the same as it was. And for better or worse, that impacts the way people engage with the game. The quality of life changes are long overdue, but the game's biggest issue remains unaddressed. In fact, in the past 3 months, it seems worse than ever. Desync now feels almost as bad as it did prior to the server revamp when class reworks came around. It's abysmal, and when you're fighting players, you're also fighting the servers. This is an irritating, frustrating, and draining experience to continue encountering with no sign of it being officially addressed.
The PvP changes. I never agree or never disagree. I almost say almost every day, every stream I said, I understand why they did it. It was some kind of mandatory, it was a necessity, but they just bring some other things, some other changes in BDO, like for open world PvP changes, Guild War declare thing, and some other things. And they can even add more, some penalties. For example, if I just, as a big guild, if I just declare war to you, there should be like big penalty every day, like from my guild funds, I can maybe lose insane amount of money, some other penalties or something. Or they can add even more things. They can adjust, they can make it bigger and bigger and bigger. But I can say that I think they should bring it back when they optimize and balance the thing. But I'm not sure because I don't want to be toxic, but Korean community is like, they pretend like everything is like in pink and they want to just grind. No PvP, nothing, no organic PvP. I don't know what's going on in the game, and I don't know when they just say like in the headable next 2 months. We will see.
I can tell you right now that if BDO becomes a grind simulator and the PvP, World PvP especially, drops off, people will stop playing the game. Straight up. I know many people that left when they made the GVG changes and they never came back. Now, I understand why they made the GVG changes.
So what do you think PA company does well, bad? And also, let's say that tomorrow you had a new Mr. J. What would you like to add game or remove something?
PA has been doing a good job of improving the quality of life of the game by making cumbersome systems less difficult to navigate or making features more convenient for players to access. They've also been reducing the severity of pay-to-win mechanisms in their game by offering freebies and multiple ways to earn those items that were traditionally reserved for the Pearl Shop only. They've also made progression easier, lowering the barrier to entry for new players to get into the end game more quickly. If I were in charge, the first issue I would address is desync. I would create a dedicated and purposeful initiative to correct the desync of this game. Following this, I would work to optimize the game to improve its frames per second and remove the high frame dependency that older classes are affected by disproportionately. Third, I would remove click to move from combat completely. Fast moving classes often use click to move to intentionally create desync, and that offers them an insanely unfair advantage. I would also change the GVG system to make it so that both GMs must undeck together for the war to end. The current system requires both GMs to agree, so both GMs should have a say of when it's removed. I would also start announcing AOS seasons on a scheduled annual basis for a whole season. For example, a summer season of AOS, a winter season of AOS, at least once a year. Lastly, I would return Shadow Arena to the game, because right now, when we took out one form of PvP, we got Guild League in exchange for it, and it feels very lackluster. I feel like Shadow Arena was a unique element to the game. There is no more Shadow Arena standalone client. This would be the time to bring back Shadow Arena. Players have been asking for it for years. Some players don't even know what they missed, especially the newer players. It was probably one of the best game modes that they had in the game. Very fair, very fun.
Yep. So what advice would you like to give to newbies, returnees, and the other players?
Take your time with BDO. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. If you burn yourself out grinding to the end game, it does you no good, because you'll quit by the time you're caught up. When you decide to return to the game, you'll be once again behind and tempted to use the same strategy, leading to a series of endless catch-up and burnout, where you will determine you can never get caught up and eventually quit for good. Pace yourself, take your time, enjoy the journey. Rushing for upgrades rarely yields positive results.
Thank you. We are reaching at the end of the interview. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish?
Stop by my live streams at twitch.tv/Zeroden Hunter. You can see the action of BDO unfold before your eyes as we engage in various forms of high-octane PvP content. If you're looking for a real family-friendly form of a guild, look into the Kinsworn Hunters. We are among the longest-standing guilds in MMO history, and our requirements are unique to the rest of the BDO community. It is heavily based on your personality, not your gear. Q, I want to thank you for taking the time to conduct this interview, and I hope your listeners out there found it helpful or insightful, or perhaps we give PA an idea or two that they can work on.
Thank you so much for this interview. Thank you. Guys, you're already checking the links, socials, and all other things about his guilds and his YouTube, his Twitch. Go check him, and you will love him. Trust me. He is a lovely guy, and thank you so much for this interview.
My pleasure, brother.
Alright, guys, do not forget, video is just a game. Have a nice game.